I come up to this dude. He's bleeding out of his back. I don't know if he's dead, but I'm not really looking on him. I know Stafford's got him, but my boots are almost touching his back. I'm standing over this dude. He's like at my feet, but I'm still trained on this field covering security for us while he's kind of doing it. Like, and we're still taking fire this whole time, man. It's zipping everywhere. I hear he's got a fucking grenade. He's eyeing me with a pineapple grenade to his chest. He pulled the pin. Right when he said that, it's the first time I ever heard a Russian pineapple grenade go off. It was a fuse like that, and he fucking drops it. So we turn around and start running.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Before I get into what I'm supposed to read off about this, I just want to say I don't take mental health lightly. Avid listeners will know we talk about this on every show, whether it's myself or our guests, the veterans, talking about the psychological effects of combat and stress. And we do so deliberately. I strongly believe I would not talk as openly about the mental health challenges I've had if it weren't for these battle-hardened veterans talking about their experiences. So we're trying to destigmatize this a bit. And the truth is, you don't have to have been in combat to go see somebody about a mental health challenge. We all grow up around different types of trauma. You should seek out the help where you can. What I love about BetterHelp is that it allows you to securely, in the comfort of your own home or wherever you find convenient, get a licensed therapist over chat, video, or phone when you need it. You all have heard me talk about somebody I served with in ROTC. He went into Iraq, got badly injured, came back, took his own life after battling PTSD. It spooked me. I thought he had overcome it. I often wonder how this type of capability, this technology to get the support you need from the comfort of your own home would have saved countless lives. I think about it a lot, and it saved me, quite honestly. So I would encourage you to check out betterhelp.com/combat story. You get a 10% discount. You get the help that you need, but also it allows us to then go and bring on new guests, new veterans to talk about these same challenges that they overcame, oftentimes through therapy, and almost every time too late, later than necessary. So I'd encourage you to take advantage of this. Again, it's betterhelp.com/combat story. Get 10% off. Thank you. I hope you'll take a look at betterhelp.com/combat story. Welcome to Combat Story. I'm Ryan Fugit, and I served Warzone tours as an Army attack helicopter pilot and CIA officer over a 15-year career. I'm fascinated by the experiences of the elite in combat. On this show, I interview some of the best to understand what combat felt like on their front lines. This is Combat Story. Today we hear the combat story of Jason Lilley, a former Marine infantryman, Marine Recon, sniper, MARSOC, and then CIA Global Response Staff or GRS operator. As many are aware, Jason is the other half of the veteran media company Savage Actual, with his co-host Patrick Moultrip having been a guest on our show on episode 26. Jason survived brutal fighting in the initial invasion of Iraq with 1st Reconnaissance Battalion, alongside journalist Evan Wright, who would go on to write the book Generation Kill that was transformed into an HBO series by the same name, depicting some of the battles we talk about in this episode. In another deployment, Jason earned a Silver Star during a battle on April 7th, 2004 in Iraq that was also later depicted in the History Channel's program Ambush of April 7th. It's believed to be the highest decorations awarded for a single battle during the war, which included 4 Silver Stars, multiple Purple Hearts, and 2 Navy Crosses, 1 awarded posthumously. We didn't want to shortchange listeners on Jason's incredible stories, so we'll schedule a round 2 to dive into his time with MARSOC and the CIA. This episode is chock full of combat experiences with a very human, empathetic, and thoughtful lens that I know you will enjoy as much as I did. Jason, thanks for taking the time to share your story with us, man.
Awesome to be here.
So we have been coordinating over social media recently, and one of the stories that came up had to do with Stolen Valor. And I don't often talk about it on the show. I don't know how often y'all do this on Savage Actual, but I think it was a pretty insightful story that might explain a little bit about the way you operate and think. And if you wouldn't mind sharing what happened recently on that with one of your trips, love to hear it.
Yeah, so the whole disgruntled vet thing, cliche overview, broad stroke of veterans, I really try to contain that. And times, you get tested. So I was at a gas station, and I'm pretty observant most of the time. I'm not in the white. So I'm at the gas station. I see this dude in like a Jeep Compass, and he's just eyeing everybody, filling up gas. And he finally makes his way. He pulls. He's in the vehicle. It's running. He's up to my left. I'm facing the pump, and he comes up behind me. He's eyeing me as he comes in, and you can tell the guy looks kind of disheveled, almost homeless, and older, probably in his 50s, 60s. And I kind of belay my body to like have eyes on this guy, because I'm getting a weird spidey sense from the dude. He gets out and he walks right up to my car, and I've got a little black rifle sticker, and it's an MP5K, and it's tiny. It says black rifle. It's like BLK RFL. It's like real short, real tiny. And he's like, he points to it. He's like, NRA? And I'm like, nah. And I didn't want to get into a long conversation. So I was like, I was a Marine, man. He's like, yeah, me too. Black Ops. I'm just like, and I'm like literally almost hallucinating, because I'm just coming out of COVID for the second time. And in my mind, I had like 5 days of 100+ degree temperature. So I was just not all there. And my patience, I usually blow people off real quick and just like, whatever, man, and get on with my way. But there was no pause. So he's like, Black Ops Marine. I'm like, yeah, fucking right. I'm like, no, you're not. And he just like, and he bowed up. Like, he got all beefy with me. He's like, what do you know? And I was just like, I have been a part of MARSOC since the beginning. I was a Marine Raider, and there was no Black Ops special operations in the Marine Corps outside of Recon, Force Recon, which I also was part of. So you're full of shit. And he started to close with, man. And I just grabbed him by his little shirt and threw him up against his Jeep, and his eyes just like got super doughy eyed, pupils dilated. He was scared. And I was just like, I just laid into him. I'm like, yo, man, there's been a war for 20 years. I've lost a lot of friends, and it's 2022, man. Like, you can't, this isn't the 60s and 70s where you just run your mouth and get away with telling stories that you were a sniper, and like, you're going to get fucking called out. And you're lucky it's me and not some other dude that's going to cave your head in. So I didn't hit him, but I scared the shit out of this dude. And I'm like, were you even Marine? He's like, no. So I was like, dude, like, from this day forward, never again. He's like, okay. And then me feeling guilty, like letting my anger, he just wanted gas to put in his car. I put gas in his fucking car for him. Like, I went from like father figures scolding this guy, I'm going to kill you, to like, I put gas in his car. Cause like at this point I realized like the guy, he had trash all over his car. His feet were like black. He was barefoot, man. It might've been a stolen car, dude. I don't even know.
Yeah.
It was just like, I felt bad that I lost control of my anger like that. So, put some gas in his car, and I'm like, just don't do it again, dude. Like, so hopefully he won't. So we'll see. Yeah. Stolen Valor is a big thing for me. Yeah.
How, through, and we'll get into all the combat that you've been through and what you've seen and the times your spidey sense has been tingling, as you said. But like, coming out of something like that, how are your nerves at the end of that? Like, are you able to kind of maintain your anger pretty well, having gone through Recon, MARSOC, GRS, this sort of lifestyle?
Yeah, for the most part. There was a phase, especially in California, on the highway. It's a weird thing. Maybe you've heard this before. Like, I don't know what it is about driving. I think it's speed, like geospatial awareness. Like, it triggers, and I've heard this from other veterans and even counselors, like, for whatever, and most of our operations, especially on the ground side, we're all vehicle mounted into hits, into patrols. So there's something there with vehicles and speed and asshole drivers. So, and I do take it personal. And I mean, there's videos all over the internet about road rage. So I have checked 90% of that. And I try to cruise and change my music from metal to, which I love, to, some slightly stupid or some chill beach music, and just try not, just let it go. So, because it's not worth it. Prison scares the shit out of me. And I feel like guys like us are always an inch away from, I call it, once you've been around death and like true death and caused that, like the boundaries, these lines they're like permeated. You've crossed this taboo realm culturally, don't kill, don't fight. And then, you can go do this now on behalf of the government. And then you try to go to the mall like 2 weeks later, you know, and some dude's like cut in front of you in line, and you just it's hard to internally. It goes from 0 to 100 really quick, and you really have to be cognizant of your current state at that moment, and it's difficult, man. So to answer your question, I've done a lot better to come down, and I try to laugh things off, and I pretty much laughed it off. You know, I internally I was embarrassed that I let myself all get to that point instead of just blowing the dude off. But sometimes a dude like that needs, I mean, probably needed a solid punch to the chest, to be honest. So as a reminder. So yeah, I try to handle it.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, like kind of crossing the line. And I think about this occasionally where I wonder if you can ever fully go back on one side of the line. Like if you really thought about it enough. And one of the things that I end up talking to guys about is if you've been in, and I know for you, you've been in some seriously difficult, challenging positions in combat. And you probably at some point have to accept, like, I might not make it out of this, but I'm going to do what I can while I'm here. And I don't know if that switch in your mind can be flipped back, like later on.
I don't think it can. That's an awesome point. It's glad you brought that up. I don't think you can, and a part of me doesn't want to. I mean, I don't want to change the path. You can't, right? 5 minutes ago, 50 years ago, it's gone. 5 seconds ago, it's gone. You can't change your life. But sometimes I wonder, I do miss the youth, like wet behind the ears, the green eyes, looking at things with virgin eyes again. And once you see truly the epitome of failure to communicate, you've exhausted all avenues of communication, and now it's gone kinetic. That's barbaric. I mean, you've gone from civilization, civilized conversation, to diplomacy, to fucking gloves are off. We're going back to caving your head in with rocks instead of 5.56. So it's you can't go back.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get there's a blend of like complacency, because I think once you go back to that, like I don't want to be caught at a gas station and not paying attention. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad I saw that guy way before he probably even really saw me. And I don't see everything, right?
Yeah.
So, but as a male, it's nice to have the training that I've had to be able to protect myself as a human and others. So I'm glad I went through what I did to have these traits to extend my life if something crazy happens.
And if we kind of rewind to when you did have virgin eyes as a kid, and I don't know if getting into scuffles like you just described was common post-military for you, but growing up, would that have been kind of the Jason that we saw as a kid?
It kind of depends on what point, what kid Jason you're talking about. I was so fearful of fighting. My heart would beat school like crazy. I was scared. Like I didn't understand. I was a band geek. I got a French horn sitting right here.
No way, Jason.
Yeah.
No way.
I'm still.
Wow. Tell me about it, man.
So my parents, on both sides, my parents are divorced like most people. And, but even dad and mom were big musicians. So dad was trumpet, mom was diehard perfect pitch pianist, and French horn. So I used to play a trio with my grandpa, who taught music as well. My dad's dad taught music as well. They knew each other before my parents were even conceived. So I come from a long line of like academic, like music educators. So I should have been a rock god growing up in this music environment, and my mom tried to get me the guitar at 10, and I wish that's one regret I have. I should have started at that. But yeah. So sorry, man. What were you?
So, well, I was asking you if you would be getting into scuffles, and then you mentioned this music background, which really surprises me. That I just would have assumed it was football, knocking heads. Would not have pictured French horn in your background. No,
I was a really nice kid, man. Amazing family and super loving. Verbally open about it, hugs. I'm very thankful how I grew up, and super close to my siblings and cousins. Were like brothers, and music. I was a big baseball guy. I was a pitcher for a long time, so I played. So I was I hate to say the Renaissance man, but I luckily was exposed to a lot. Huge hunting family, huge fishing family. I'm obsessed with fishing still. I mean, I've been fishing. I probably fished 20 hours the last 3 days, so I'm tired. We fished till 2 a.m. last night. So lots on the palette, and I'm super blessed to be experienced. You know, from photography. Grandparents were way into photography. I grew up with National Geographics in the house. My grandpa was so always had an affinity and appreciation for foreign cultures from a young age. My grandpa was fought, but he was a World War II sailor on a destroyer escort during Korea and World War II. So that was always there. And I always asked him. I remember asking the guy if he'd ever killed anybody when I was a kid, like a lot of kids do. And you get it to that older age, I'm like, what a dumb question. So I'm glad he never did. But hearing his stories about World War II, so man, I had so much there. And back to the fighting, painting a little picture here. I hated it, man. I was friends with everyone, from jocks to nerds to. I just liked conversation, and I liked to get along with everybody. I like to laugh, and I don't know. My parents divorced when I was 14. It was like the second or third one that I witnessed, and that's when I switched. And I moved in with my dad to a different town. Started partying with the wrong people, and I started getting scrappy. And I also got picked on a lot. I never defended myself. I would always try to talk myself out of it and give them compliments or something, or hey, how's your day going? Before I get my head smashed inside of a bus for no reason. I mean, it was violent back. I hated childhood, as most of us, So I was definitely a bullied victim because I never stood up for myself. And then one day it just kind of came to a head, and I was just like, never again. So, and that's, product environment. We're all products of environment.
Was that was from that switch, just your parents separating? And
yeah, depression, new town, new set of rules, new household. Didn't have the freedoms that I had previously, but I also did. But my grades severely slipped, and I actually ended up dropping out of high school, believe it or not.
Wow.
So I was in the gifted program as a kid, and I mean, so I've got my own views on divorce and children in that environment. So everything through my high school years, the darkness that I went through then, and then hanging out with some really scrappy people, I started to kind of I had a big kind of fuck it mentality for a long time, and definitely hung with some guys that they're not even here right now. I mean, they died at a young age from alcoholism, 26. They're just kind of the wrong kids, but not the wrong kids. They just were kind of in a similar situation that I was, and I was lucky to get out of it. I almost joined the Army. I went to Fort Riley with a recruiter and didn't get the vibe. And then at 20, my roommate, Adam, in Kansas, he was the one that told me about Recon and the Marines. We started working. It's the first time I started working out, started putting on a little bit of mass. I was skinny, still am. And he never joined. Then I joined the Marine Corps, and then quickly into it, I was like, I want nothing to do with Recon. I just want to try to survive as a Marine grunt. This is a lot,
So wait, Marine. So you mentioned you have a roommate at 20, but you had dropped out of high school. Have you gotten back on track? Were you back at school? What was your roommate? What was the situation that you had a roommate?
I think I moved out at 18. I bounced around through, man, I had about every damn job there was. And I didn't last long for much. I mean, roofing in Oklahoma, watching dudes getting thrown off roofs, fighting because they're drunk at 7 a.m, to washing dishes. I was a detailer at a freaking Chevrolet dealership. I mean, I had all these jobs, and I just was searching for something to fill this void, and nothing could do it. And Adam, living with him, I think it was clear and present danger when this Recon team got whacked in this valley somewhere, and it should have kind of deterred me from that. But I just saw these guys going behind enemy lines, right? There's this clear cut enemy. We're bad, we're good, no insurgency. Just go behind this line, and you're deep. Deep recon. I was just like, who the fuck are these guys? It was this Hispanic guy was the actor, and his whole team.
Oh, I remember it, man. I remember that movie. It's a good one.
Yeah. And that was kind of the first seed, And I get the vibe from the Army for some reason. I'm glad I did. No offense. But
none taken,
because I was close, man. I was definitely close. But yeah, and
wow.
I started getting on this path of like I come from a big sports family, and I came from this path of health and wellness, and I just got off the track. So I started exercise, started to run around with like a JanSport backpack with like 10 pounds. And I thought I was awesome and hard. I think I ran like 5 miles, and I thought it was like no one's ever done that before, you know, like especially where I'm from. They probably didn't. But yeah. So ended up joining in 2000. I turned 21 in boot camp. Actually,
wow.
I was a little
in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So just before 9/11.
Yeah, I was in for a year. Yeah.
At what point through boot camp, if at all, or through your training, does that kind of Jason that you're describing, the person who's kind of all over the place, odd jobs, get the focus to the Jason we see today?
To me, so internally, not graduating high school pained me. I was super embarrassed. I literally just felt I can't describe the level of worthlessness and embarrassment to like my family and my own direction in life. I was so fucking lost and like super depressing. It kind of chokes me up even thinking about how difficult that was. And I think most human beings go through that. It's all relative to your family and shit, but it's like that's life. It's like survival still, even though we're advanced, it's like still pain and like surviving socially, you know, physically. So what I'd gone through the previous 4 years and this like resentment towards bullies and just like feeling like a failure going into this, I knew this was monumental. And it was like my escape, and not the Kansas was bad, but it was escape from myself and trying to start over, really. Kansas was a really good place, and it still is. And very proud of that state and Kansas in general. But getting there, it was just like I knew I was onto something. I felt this. It was deeply, and I didn't know what I was going to get into, but I felt like I was going to witness and be a part of something. It's hard to describe.
Yeah.
And I chose, like, to me, like joining any other MOS was just wrong. Like I came here to fight, and having the hunting, fishing, I was super into the outdoors, Boy Scouts. Like I wanted to stretch that. I wanted to just test myself there. So I used, directly to your question, I used kind of all my pain and angst and feelings to not quit and give it, to kind of honor my name and honor myself and just give it 100. So,
yeah. So it was like for yourself to turn this around. This was your opportunity. And
this was my chance.
Just before we jump into kind of the first time you find yourself in combat with the Marines, Jason, I don't think I've ever touched on this on the show, but as you look back and you mentioned like how significant that divorce was, dropping out was for some kid who's listening, who might be in a similar situation, like, would you have done something differently? Or like, do you have advice that you give to people at this point, looking back on that? Because you've had a complete turnaround, obviously.
Yeah. Try to believe in yourself. And even if you come from a really shitty family and you might not get like some of the love that like I got, like you are like individually important. And whatever you like, whatever that is, anime, the Pikachu, the frickin' color by numbers, whatever you like to do, that's your thing. Like, and honor that and like get into it and ignore fucking everyone else. Yeah. Truly, like I hated high school and I hated most people in it. And it was just so brutal. And I was very sensitive. That's probably the word I should have said. Emotionally, I'd cry all the time. Like all the time, but like, dude, like it was like quicker than I should have, to be honest. But I don't know, I was just so sensitive. It kind of molded who I was later. And I've come to find with the guys I've stood next to how similar a lot of our lives were and how sensitive a lot of us are and how artsy and brainy a lot of us are. And then I didn't feel like, even though we were like this jock that could run sub 18 minutes, 3 miles, like we were softies. I mean, really, and I think that's what makes you, we're not fucking robots. Like, I think having that empathy makes us greater, makes us better. And I wouldn't change it. I mean, it sucked ass. I would want to go through it again, but I wouldn't change it, you know?
The empathy is a key word there. I think that we're kind of touching on, but didn't say. Okay, so you get into the Marine Corps. 1 year in, 9/11 happens, whole world changes. Can you take us to the first time you're in combat, whether it was mundane, nothing, or intense? What do you remember from that? What was it like? What unit were you at? What was your role?
Yeah, so I left the grunts. I was luckily a part of, I want to give honor to that unit and my boys that I still am very fond of. I was at Lima Company, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. So 5th Marines, Dark Horse, Sergeant Major Vines, like some studs, Brian Shantosh, fucking stud. I luckily, even in the grunts, were some badass dudes. So basic 0311. I came out of boot camp as a fucking private. I'm glad I did. And I was a grunt. But I started getting away from smoking and drinking like we all did a lot. I started running. And I befriended a guy, a legendary Recon MARSOC sniper, Jimmy Proudman is his name. And he was in Recon and came back to the grunts as a sniper. And I asked him if he were in my shoes again. We were on a deployment before the war to Okinawa, 31st MU. And I asked him if you were in my shoes, would you go stay? Would you go sniper, or would you go Recon? And he's like, dude, I'd go Recon. And that pushed me over the edge. So then I tried out for Recon in Okinawa and passed in docked, and had orders to go to BRC, Basic Reconnaissance Course, 2002 in Pendleton and Coronado. And then I had orders to 3rd Recon to Okinawa, and I denied orders to stay at 1st. I wanted to be on the West Coast. It was kind of about a girl, but I wanted to stay on the West Coast. Yeah. So it was, I wanted to be on the West Coast, man. So
wow.
Yeah, I left 5th Marines and showed up to 1st Recon to Bravo Company 2nd Platoon, which became infamous with Generation Kill. That was my platoon. So during what the whole show is about, the book's about, so OIF-1, like one of the first to cross on the Western Front. And dude, it was just fucking surreal. There's no other word for it. I mean, I've watched every military movie, read books, 1st Recon, 2nd to none, but then like here I am, I watched the Challenger explode in 85 or 86 on TV. Like I'm seeing some shit in my life. It's just awesome. Like not positive or negative, but just like in awe. Crossing the border and seeing the wraparounds, like laser Star Wars under nods, like looking up as I'm driving. Like I was the driver. Like I'm a little OCD with driving, so I like to drive. So we joked that we were no armored reconnaissance. So at LAR, we were in AR. So we were fucking like Willie's Jeeps, man. We had 70s flak jackets underneath our fucking seats from Vietnam. And we had fucking sandbags on our fucking normal glass windows. Like, God. In fucking Jeeps, basically. Like no fucking doors, no roof on most of them anyway. Mine specifically had fucking rucks. We had rucks hanging off. It's badass in hindsight. So we drove from Kuwait all the way to fucking Baghdad and back in 5 months, 6 months.
So I just interviewed a guy who was 18 when that kicked off. He was an 0311. I don't remember the unit, so I feel terrible. Christian Holloway. He was in an AAV with a couple of those and an M1A1. Like that's how they were rolling. And he was describing like getting artillery before they even crossed the LMD.
We took a Scud. So what, like legit, this happened? Fucking look it up somewhere.
I believe you, man.
So we're in, I'm getting old. I forgot the name. Because it was Matilda was the camp we were at close to the LOD, but it was the one before that. It was like Camp Victory. I think it was like this big hub. It was a fucking huge base, and Kuwaitis were there too. I remember seeing those dudes doing the O course, and I was like, these guys are fucked up. They're like falling off and completely non-aerobic. It's hilarious to watch those dudes. Like, no wonder we kick ass. So, we took a Scud. The fucking sirens went off, man. I heard it before the alarms. It sounded like a fucking jet. And I was like, we were all like looking up for it, dude. And it hit like within 5 kilometers. It was like HEDP. So like no biological, but it was fucking gas, man. We all fucking put on our goddamn mop suits for hours, it seemed like. And was like, I remember Scuds in 91 when I was 11.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, obviously, but my buddy's uncle was, an Army guy. And I just remember watching the news, like Scuds, like, holy fuck, that's a Scud. And obviously, at that point, we'd been schooled up on that threat. So that's kind of like the first time it was real going over there. That was kind of like a quarter inch into it being real. I was just like, all right, like my life could end.
Yeah.
You absorb this kind of like, I hate to sound like I'm fucking awesome and super tough, but like this Japanese mindset of like, you kind of have to accept your debt. You signed up for it. I mean, literally, if you put it to a sword and a shield, like I didn't choose to do logistics. I chose to pick up that fucking sword. And that is kind of the byproduct of losing your life. That's the exciting part in a weird way, right? So across the border, it was fucking boring as shit. Saw a lot of cool shit all the way up to Nazaria. And we pulled up to the very edge of Nazaria, the very southern end. We passed Jessica Lynch's Humvee and the Dragon Wagon vehicle. I forgot, it's a long vehicle called the Dragon Wagon. I forgot what it's actually called. But we saw her Humvee with bullet holes and blood oozing out of it. She had already been kidnapped at that point. That was her Humvee. It was the first American vehicle that I saw fucked up. And heard sporadic gunfire. And going into getting closer to Nazaria, obviously over comms, we all talked, but we were going to get into it. So that's when the mindset changed. That's when it became real. And training, you realize you didn't train enough, and that you never do it, but it would get you close, right? So, and then we spent the night in our fucking Humvees with my beanie, just sitting there, not even on the ground, like all night, sitting there under nods, taking rotations on the fucking gun. And then the next morning, it was fucking cold back then too. Like a lot of people know, Iraq in winter, like February, was fucking just above freezing, like 40s and low 50s. Sucked ass. So Polar Tech Marine Corps beanies, wearing a sweaty ass mop suit, eating MREs. Like people, I don't know if like people grasp it. Like we didn't shower for like 120, 129 days. Like
that's crazy.
It's crazy. Like, and I forget about it. Like I was talking about it like a week or two ago with another buddy. Like, dude, they weren't fucking tents. I wasn't in a fucking building. I slept on the ground outside of the elements for months. Like, and it was actually kind of okay. So it's kind of crazy what the human body can go through. And I know dudes have been through far worse, but just they're used to, I mean, even the barracks life kind of sucks, but even like living with a roof over your head, like, and having running water, like, I mean, that shit was hard. I mean, we all lost a lot of weight. So back to Nazaria, pull up to the bridge. Huey's Vietnam, man. Huey's fucking shooting. I'm just like, dude, this is fucking real, man. This is it. This is it. This is the real shit. And we're all like fucking gung ho, like fucking all about it, dude. Like Recon, we were fucking psychopaths. That all of us were. And you had to be, man. And we pull up to this, like, I think north was over the bridge. We'll just call it north. But we were on like the southwest corner of this bridge. And we pull into this Alpha Company, Bravo Charlie. It was like all first Recon. And however many Humvees we fucking had, a lot. And dude, there were grunts in the fucking prone in this outer cordon perimeter facing out, getting it. Like mortars were fucking landing. Mortar hit a telephone pole. Real fucking close to us, man. It knocked the fucking pole down, and wires were arcing, and it landed like fucking 100 feet away from us on the ground, dude. I was just like, holy shit. So there's actually a picture that Evan Wright took of me. I just got it like a month ago. I had no idea he was sitting on it. So the writer of Generation Kill sent me this picture. I'm in front of the Humvee with the gun, like high gun. There's a bunch of my buddy Recon dudes from my platoon actually taking a knee. It's a sick picture.
And you mentioned Evan Wright and Generation Kill. Just for people who haven't seen it, definitely recommend it. HBO program. Evan Wright was a journalist embedded with you guys, right? In this trip in. So well documented experience portrayed by actors, but based on you and the other people there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
I actually auditioned to play myself and didn't get my own part.
No.
Yeah, legit. I'm friends with Kellen Lutz, who played me. Like I hung out with him and his wife, and he's an amazing Kellen. If you're listening to this, dude, love you. He's got two or three brothers, forgive me, that are Marines as well.
Oh,
So
damn.
he's a good human being. Like Kellen is an amazing human being. So
Now wait real quick here, Jason. So like when you auditioned, how did you feel your skills were? Did you practice for that? Like what was going on?
I could probably kill it now, but even at 25 when I auditioned, I was still pretty young, like here, and still kind of timid. It's hard to explain. But you're a young 20 guy, right? You know, like you're just, I don't know, you don't really start maturing until like 40 for me anyway. But yeah, I was super timid. I had to, I walked in and there's like this lady with glasses, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here to audition for the role of Jason Lilley. Like, what's your name? And I'm like, Jason Lilley. And she's just like, she like pulled her glasses down. I'm like, yeah, that's me. I was that Marine. They were just like, and they exploded, man. Like all the ladies came out and like the staff, and they took me back there. And it was like, I was kind of like a mini celebrity at that point. And I saw all my boys, there was 23 of us in that platoon, and each guy that I blend with fucking had a stack of actors, basically pamphlets of fucking these actors on the ground on this giant circle in this room of all these people trying to play my buddies.
Wow.
There's me on the ground. I'm like looking at all these guys trying to play my part. I'm just like, this is fucking crazy. Because I grew up on HBO, and it's just so surreal.
What did they have you read? Was it like your own lines? Was it Jason's lines, or was it something kind of?
No. So it was like getting basically a Dear John letter from this girl I was with, and I had to like recite it, and I think I was just like monotone, and then it was like two or three females, and like I forgot their names. The producer, I think he did The Wire. Forgive me, I forgot their names. Big time producers and directors, right? So the line was something about getting a Dear John letter, except in reality it was over a sat phone, Evan's sat phone, and I stepped in like up to my knee like oil. We just fought all day, and I was like in this fucking abandoned, blown up fucking like electrical complex, and there was like oil everywhere, and it was full moon, and I stepped off to use my phone, his phone, to call back home on the sat phone. I had like a 10-second delay, as you know, like right off the curb into like a pond of like fucking pure oil, and it just sucked. Just fucking sucked. So I told them this. They're like, all right, well, so you get this Dear John letter, basically. And so I kind of went through my reaction to how he written it. And he's like, did it really go down like this? And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Like, can you put more feeling into it? I'm like, sure. Like, really think about how you felt about her. I'm like, okay. So, dude, I said some things about her in front of other females and used some pretty shitty words, and they ate their hair like an old Maxwell commercial. Like this guy had Sharon's hair blown back from speakers. Like their hair was just like they're like, yeah. And I never got the part. So, but I used about every cuss word known to band to describe my feelings. So
was that that what you just described, like standing in oil on the sat phone, was that a real event for you?
Yeah.
And it was a Dear John?
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
What?
Yeah. Like, dude, my first phone call home. And it was just like a
no way.
Yeah. And she was going to join the Marine Corps also. So I was just like, oh, I just want to call and talk to my girl and like hear some support and whatever. And you're going to join the Marine Corps. Like, it was a fuck, dude. It was a blow to the head.
Yeah. How'd you handle that coming out of it?
I told my boys, and we all started making fun of each other and shit. And I'm like the bloody rabbit. So, just fucking the whole thing sucked. So just another sucky moment. So yeah. Yeah, it was at night too. I'll never forget it. So I was like a little heart hurt for a little bit, but we all got our own lives and own things going on in our heads, even though we're in this unit pushing through an adventure.
Dude, that is real, man. That's like a Vietnam story that you would hear, not on a radio, of course, but like a letter that comes in that changes somebody's. Yeah, they re-up for more time in.
Yeah,
dark spiral. You had no choice. You just had to keep going.
Yeah. So
man,
we were there. That was a cool little tangent here. We were in that little fucking area for like a couple of days, and we did a big sweep with UAD in this open field next to this, and I found a buried, not a hind, but it was a hip, and with like fucking rockets attached to it, but like buried perfect helicopter in a fucking hole, bro.
Wow.
Like palm fronds going, like you couldn't see it from above. Like we like almost fell into it. There was dirt on it, and it just like looked a little weird. We opened it up, and it was a fucking buried helicopter with rockets everywhere. We're like, grid coordinate, gonna blow this in place. So
weird. Was it like a fallback position maybe that they intended that they might, like, why the hell would you bury
maybe bury some shit because they know it's inevitable that like we're fucking coming. So like maybe they thought they'd get the advantage at some point and get some of these buried things to help fight off the resistance later.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah, that's fucking crazy. I'll never forget that 24, 48 hour. So I don't know who was with me, man, but I'll never forget finding a buried fucking helicopter. So pretty crazy. And that was only like the first month.
Yeah. When you're advancing in, is there a time where you're actually kind of in contact with somebody that you can see? Do you remember that first experience?
So it was portrayed in the show. And what was the name of that damn city? Al-Muwafakia was the name of the city. And excuse my dogs.
Oh, good.
I think we were tailing Charlie. That's what it was. We somehow Bravo Company, we were down these fucking dirt roads, man, and like canals. And we weren't initially trying to go through the city, but like it's Blue Force Tracker. So like the maps weren't like 100%. We're invading a country we've never really been to. Yeah. So legit ground intelligence on the fly. And I remember going down this fucking canals on my right. We went forever, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna go through this town, hearing the shit over comms, right? Like that might be hot." So I remember as we get into this small ville, maybe had a couple thousand people, maybe 1,000, I don't know, but there's probably 40 buildings. It was all along this main drag. We had made a left turn. And this is when things start to slow down, and everything after this became nonstop. So we made this left turn. I remember seeing dudes, forgive my callous, wearing man jammies, all black, and that was the deciding thing later on. But they were wearing all black, and they weren't waving, and no weapons, and it was like one guy, and he was kind of walking erratically in weird eye contact, and just watching his slow motion, man. I'm driving, I'm seeing this dude. Like we make eye contact. We all looked at this guy, and like he was probably a scout. So made a left. The first two companies from First Recon made it through. My company, for whatever reason, Bravo Company, specifically Second Platoon, gets lit the fuck up. And it's like the Alamo, dude. It's like a Western. Like the buildings are double, triple story. So I'm not super built up, but high enough. We're taking fucking RPGs and small arms and God knows what else, like a crop, like both ends at multiple levels. I've never wanted to be so small in my life. Like I remember my helmet reminded me of like Spaceballs. When you had that giant fucking helmet, like that's all I can think of. I was kind of laughing as I'm driving, and it's all surreal. I'm shooting as I'm driving. Like I wanted to be a fucking turtle. I had my head on the fucking steering wheel, and I'm like trying to get up against the sandbag. I'm hunched over, and I'm like I flipped it to fucking burst, and I was just like blah blah, and like peripheral, like seeing dudes running, like fucking muzzle flashes. Mark 19 behind me, he's hitting the fucking buildings to my left. Shit's blowing everywhere. I mean, dude, how the fuck? Legit. I mean, there's bullets. I'm not exaggerating. Like it was inches from all of us the whole time. One guy got a little bit in his arm.
Wow.
And that's it. None of us died. And we fucking smoked a lot of people. And
did you have to dismount, Jason, or did you guys just kind of push through?
Push fucking through, man. Off the X, push through. Before even the word X was a thing. Like fucking forward, go. Not super fast, maybe 30, 25, but there was fucking cars. They dropped piano wire or like wire to take out our gunners. Like this was planned.
Wow.
We get to the other side, it's like 1st Marine Division's tank battalion, and like they're all facing us. And it's like a kind of a dust storm a little bit. It's like super hazy. We make it to the end of this fucking city, make a left and immediate right, and it's like muddy open fucking field. And there's fucking Marines everywhere. They've been sitting there for days, like deciding on when they were going to go in and how they were going to attack this city. Like they were planning a fucking big attack on this fucking, it was filled to the brim with insurgents. And we just right up the ass, the back end, fucking randomly drive through it on accident and like almost fucking die, all of us. Like how the fuck, if we would have got stopped and would have got held up, it'd have been a different story. But like we drove, dudes were driving over cars, like fucking A, man. Fucking crazy. I just remember seeing dudes over the top, like spraying and praying. Like that's the first time I was danger close.
Did you have any time afterwards to even think about it, or were you just pushing on to the next objective?
We got to the field, we all got out, and it was the first time that I'd ever, not the last, that I'm like, I have to be in shock. Like I have to be in purgatory, I have to be dead, I have to be fucked up. Like I've read about it, like I don't feel it right now because I'm so hyped up. And like we're all like checking. I had bullet holes in my ruck that was hanging behind the seat, punctured a Camelback, like. And there's 5 Marines in this open back Humvee, and every Humvee was like that. So none of us, minus one dude, got a little shrapnel in his fucking arm. Like all of us were it was like Christmas. I just remember how happy we were, and we were all laughing and just like in awe and just like all smiles. Just like we're all like hugging each other. You know, it's like, holy fuck, man. We just like, that was a pure ambush. Like, and we got fucked and we lived. So, and our Humvees continued to work. Like none of them were catastrophically fucked up. You know, none of the engines, they like took rounds. Like, I don't know how, man. Like if they would shoot like us, we'd all be dead in the first 30 seconds.
So this brings up a good point. I forgot to ask you about this earlier. So you were in a recon unit at the time. So, you know, a step above, obviously, and no disrespect to the grunts at all in this, just like you guys have trained in a different way. But at that time, had any of the guys in that unit been in combat before?
Yes. Yes. So infamous, famous Rudy Reyes, Josh Person. So Bravo 2 has already been war hardened and not to that level, but definitely in Afghanistan in 01. So they went to, I fucking forgot the province they went to. But they had already had combat action ribbons, you know, and at that time I was like,
big time. That was huge. Yeah.
And I'm a new recon Marine at this point. I'm only a corporal. So I've only been there for a few months. And actually in recon school, famous El Swore, Jason Swore, who runs Skill Set Magazine, he pulled a few of us aside. He's like, hey, you guys are going to be going to combat. So in recon school, like halfway through it, like the rappel tower, Coronado, the SEAL rappel tower, they pulled aside like, hey, we're going to Iraq. And that was like a game changer mindset at that point too. So again, fast forward, we lived through it and then just continue our march, man. So we were General Madison. He loved us. That dude loved recon. We were his fucking shock troops, man.
Like he would just kind of say, hey, we got to go take this objective, send these guys in.
Yeah. And not only just objective, it's really a battalion probe. Like we're pushing the line. We got so ahead of like the rest of the US military. Like, dude, we got ahead of our own logistics train. We ran out of food for like 2 or 3 weeks and had to eat fucking humanitarian rations. Like we were way up there, dude. And on the western side too. So no man's land. So it's fucking wild, man. It's definitely out of a movie, which became one.
Yeah. And so I think we'll jump in a bit to the point where you end up earning a Silver Star, but that's, I believe, so correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, that's a subsequent deployment.
That's my next deployment.
The next one, right?
Second deployment.
So Generation Kill is the first deployment, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Is there another moment in that deployment where you were like, oh my God, I can't believe I walked away from this? Or one where you knew it was going to be bad going in and you kind of had to steel yourself for it?
Yeah. And it luckily didn't turn out to be anything at all, thank God. But I thought this one was going to be far worse. We were woken up at like something early, 04, 05. We were outside of, I think to crit. I can't remember exactly. It all blends together. Too many deployments. But there was an airfield that's portrayed in the show. I still haven't watched the whole thing, but I was told it was in there. I did see a snip of this engagement. They're like, hey, you guys are going to go take a fucking airfield. And it's loaded with like T-55s and T-72s. It's still manned. They've got dogs.
Those are tanks, right?
Tanks.
For people who those are Russian style tanks.
Russian tanks, Iraqi, and there's like Fedayeen there potentially too, which is their higher echelon of fucking fighters. So there's like guard towers and shit. And it's a fucking airfield. I'm like, dude, this is a fucking movie. We're gonna die. Like I thought for sure that morning, that day was over. Like that was it. So
like during the mission brief, as you were getting that, Jason, you're like, the odds aren't in our favor.
No, and all of us accepted it. You know, like it just seemed we all were joking about it. You know, like, all right, no armored reconnaissance again to go take an airfield with fucking 50 cals and AT4s. You know, like against tanks. Fuck it. You know, guns up. So they're like, from this one point, anything that moves, fucking blast. So, and we did. And we ended up smoking a kid. He took three
Oh, man.
But he lived. He ended up taking 3.556 to the gut from a saw. And I actually nicknamed the guy that shot him, who's now running for Congress. Fucking shot this kid because the sun was coming up and everything was backlit. So we just saw movement. And again, we're going into fucking, in our head, fucking Hell's Gate. Like legit, this is probably going to be a lot worse than what we just went through with fucking the previous ambush. And they got real armor this time. And I mean, I was legit, we're all fucking afraid. You know, this is real. So we're gonna fucking do it. What choice you got? So fucking guns up, ends up fucking smoking this kid. And as I think we got past, we realized it was an incident, we all stopped. Like mission stopped. We like took a pregnant pause for like 20 minutes. And our 18 Delta, who's now a bona fide doctor, Timmy Bryan, fucking patched this kid up, called in a healer, got him out. He actually lived. So he took 3 to the stomach and he fucking lived. And that's it's a good shot, you know, not to sound barbaric. That's a good shot on the move from a saw on a vehicle into the sun as the sun's coming up. And he fucking drilled this kid. So
how was that guy's head after that? After taking that shot, was he able to keep focus?
Trombley, he seemed pretty good. He was in a different vehicle, and he was like one of our junior guys. We got a dump of younger guys at that point. He was like one of the 4 or 5 that were like pretty new to the platoon. And you know, we all busted this dude's balls a lot. He was super young at that time, but he seemed he seemed like he compartmentalized pretty fucking well.
Okay.
So, but the kid ended up living. So, and he did exactly what he was supposed to do. And we just didn't know there were innocents living on this road to the airport. So, and it was a byproduct of war. So luckily the kid lived. So, dude, we get there online. We're spread out over like kilometers at this point, like first recon into this, like linearly going into this fucking airfield longwise, like paralleling this airfield. It's fucking empty. No one's there. Like,
you guys didn't have the intel that said that, man?
Dude, I don't fucking know, man. Like, it was empty. Like, it's fucking loaded to the teeth. Like, maybe the night before they fucking bounced, dude. Like, honestly. And it could. Yeah. We weren't that far away from it. So I'm sure they had their own probes. And we're like, fucking Americans are danger close. Let's get the fuck out of there. So we've been dominating, as you know, the airspace at that time. And on that topic, we fucking just scared the shit out of me. I thought it was the first time I was going to have fratricide, true fratricide. 2 A10s came in, like fucking screaming and pulled the last second and then rocked the wings back and forth to let us know they see this. But we had our big air panels on the front. But dude, I thought they were coming down to fucking light us up. Like, really? Vertically, dude, like 90 degrees coming down, like screaming down and pull up the light. It was such an awesome sight to see. And they like peeled off, wagged their wings on the way out. It's just like, dude, I'm like in World War II right now. This is fucking crazy.
Did they take any shots on a target then? They were just coming in and let you know, like, hey, we're here. We got you.
Coming in. Yeah, something I don't know, motive, but yeah, maybe just a say what's up. 'Cause I'm sure they were up there loitering for a bit. But yeah, no comms. We didn't. Kind of weird, you know. But breakdown of communication. Somehow we didn't get the intel that no one was fucking there. So
How about, did you end up getting air support on any of these initial ops?
yeah. So your brothers from another branch. We had a team of Cobras escort us. So we pushed past Baghdad, fast forward to Bath headquarters, which was, oh fuck, what was the name of that city? Bakaba was the name of the city, north, and it was hot. So we had Cobras, and we had this is when they earned respect from me, and loved them ever since. LAR, so our LAVs, our variant of the fucking striker. So I think we had one in front, one in the back. Yeah, I don't think it was our entire battalion. I think it might have just been a company, my company. I'm not sure. We pushed through it, man, and pushed up there, and like 3/4 of the way up, we started getting contact, and the Cobras ran it first, and I think the LAVs pushed up too, and then we came in and kind of got behind some of the carnage, and there were fucking dead Iraqis, like bad dudes everywhere, and there were RPGs and fucking PKMs and AKs everywhere, and there was like 50 of them on the road. Like, could have been a fight. Probably would have done well because we had a lot of Marines. And but I'll never forget it, man. It was the first time I saw true carnage and death. And then they hit a bus that was loaded with a bunch of bad dudes. And it was like the bus was like shitting humans. The back end was hit by probably Hellfires or 25s, but the back end was blown off. And it was like just oozing humans, and it was just blood everywhere. The driver was alive. He was the only one alive. I mean, maybe there might have been some others, but the blood was blown inwards up on the inside of the glass. He had the windshield wiper blades going.
No,
he was in complete shock, and his face is completely covered. I saw the whites of his eyes. It's the only thing that was bright. He like looked at me, and I like looked at him, and he's like trying to wipe the blood. It's just still sitting there. And I was like, holy fuck, man. And there was just bodies everywhere. So that was like the first, I mean, we've been fighting at this point, but it was the first time I've seen like the loss of life up close. So we've taken.
You're like 22, Jason?
I was 23. Fuck. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Wasn't the first. So pretty crazy, man. I remember vividly all that. And then, I mean, seeing people crawling on fire not long after that, like 10 miles north of that, seeing a dude crawling from a vehicle, fingertips were the only skin left. He was still alive, no hair. It was a skull crawling. Like, it was fucking crazy, man. Cobras destroy.
Dude.
And there was a lot of bad dudes on that road. So they were ready. That was like the last stronghold of fucking Bath party members. So, and some other unit. Higher echelons probably took care of that shit.
When you came out of that deployment, how long was that one for you?
It's funny you say that, man. I would like to actually count, but I want to say it was 5 or 6 months. So came back, and I think to our Vietnam and like World War II brothers, there was time and distance from going kinetic to the time they got home. Like ships, they were on ships to kind of really decompress. That wasn't, they just had to get home, but it ended up being, I think, dual purpose. Like, they had time to be with their bros again, and they were on the ships, and they made it home in a month or two, right? I don't know how long it took them to get back from like Europe back home on ship. But, we get back to Kuwait, and even though it's only been a couple of weeks since we were fighting or whatever, since the last fight, the last tick, troops in contact, I'm back in fucking San Diego, like fucking 72 hours later. I'm at the fucking mall. Like there's colors in America. Like, it's fucking brown and like adobe buildings, like the smells, open sewage. Iraq is a beautiful place in its own way. It'd be cool to go back there again, kind of like the Vietnam vets do, and like walk around and not lose my head. But and it wasn't my last time. I ended up going back 10 years later, but which is crazy. Never thought I'd ever go back. But Yeah. It's a trip coming back to the States, you know?
How'd you handle it?
I was super excited. I mean, they gave us First Marine Division had a fucking parade, like World War II parade, like in Oceanside. We were like heroes for a short time. And I honestly thought the war was over. I thought it was a 6-month thing. And as we all know, it lasted another fucking 20 years.
God, man.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I took it pretty well. I did notice I had some things going on with me. Hypervigilance. I definitely changed. People noticed, people said, you know, and you do, obviously. I mean, it's like, I hate to use the word traumatic, but it is not normal to witness that. You don't see that in everyday life. And I'm glad. I don't want anyone else to see that shit. We signed up for it. I don't want the common man of America. No, not an offense to like the word common, but like, you know, I don't want an average person to see true fucking atrocities of how humans can be so shitty to each other.
If you actually, quick question. Did the girlfriend end up coming back in the picture when you got back? Or
no, we had split for like a year, then I went back to Kansas for like 3 months, and I quickly into it. I was like, yeah, this isn't gonna work out.
Okay.
And then I moved right back to California.
So
after a summer.
That's good. So that's gone. As you're getting ready to go on the next deployment, how is your head going into this after what you saw in the first one?
Not as gung-ho. I'm going to be completely honest, and I speak for myself here. I don't know how others felt about it, but I had a pretty interesting surgery. Say I'm half the man I used to be, and Lance Armstrong and I have a lot in common.
Got it. Okay.
If I was a porn star, my name would be Hung Solo. So,
was it cancer though? I mean,
no, it was
you overcome that.
So
okay.
I was born with an inguinal hernia. I had an undescended testicle. And I'll be bluntly honest about it, dude. And there was like zero blood flow. It was basically a dead testicle. So the risk for cancer was fucking through the roof.
Okay.
So at 23, I got a biopsy. They're like, this should be out yesterday. So I was like, fuck it. So take it out. And 3 weeks later, legit, I was in Fallujah with a bruise up to my belly button and like halfway down my leg.
Jesus, man. Okay.
I fought tooth and nail. They were trying to keep me back. So I linked up with my teams. They were there 2 weeks ahead of me, and myself and 2 other Marines were late for whatever reason. John Brown and another guy. Brown became a warrant, became an officer. No, he was actually not even warrant. I think he's still in it. He's potentially like lieutenant colonel. Awesome dude. And we landed in Iraq in, I think it was the same damn time frame. I think it was like February, March of 04. Yeah. Because we left again in November, so February, and flew into TQ to Kadam, and then we had to make it to the Met camp just outside Fallujah. So we joined a PSD kind of loose grunt Marine unit, and they escorted us from TQ to Camp Fallujah. And they made a wrong fucking turn. We ended up in Queens of Fallujah, Southwest Fallujah, and the worst fucking spot.
No.
And it was the same fuck. And they gave me like one fucking, I had my M4 with 1 mag. Like they didn't give a shit, dude. I'm used to running, I had like 14 magazines at one time. Like a drop 6, double here, a 12 here. Like I'm fucking loaded out. No, I had 1 mag, maybe 2. I think it was 1. Holy fuck, man. And you know, this captain or fucking lieutenant was a, you know, platoon commander in this fucking unit that was pretty green, and they made a wrong fucking turn. And same fucking thing, dude. Dudes in man jammies everywhere. And it looked, and this was a built up city. This was fucking quadruple. Even just the little section of Fallujah was massive. And I was just like, and there were dudes everywhere. No females, no kids, no weapons, didn't see shit. They were probably like, what the fuck? And there was no fighting yet. It was building up. I mean, the zit was about to fucking pop. You know, like we drove through it, like 4 blocks of it, and then turned around. And dudes were just like eyeing us, dude, like hundreds of dudes. And not a fucking round was shot. I was fucking scared, man. Like we 100% would have been taken. Like we were completely outnumbered. I've never trained with these dudes. They probably don't know how to fucking move like I do, and vice versa. Like, dude, I had no idea what their names were. It would have been fucked. I don't even think I was on their comms. Ended up at Camp Fallujah, and then 100% this deployment was night and day difference from legit kinetic and harder compared to 6 months prior. Like the enemy TTPs quadrupled quickly. They learned fast and with help from Iran and other places. So
yeah. So I want to jump to 7 April 2004, right? So I've got, if you don't mind me reading just a little bit, Jason, from the citation here, and if I got this off the internet, can't believe everything you read there. But so if something here is wrong, please let me know. But to just set the context for people, and then I'd love to hear you kind of talk about what it was like to be there. So you're still with Recon, basically 60 enemy fortified positions. You're in a 25-man recon platoon at the time. The initial ambush injures 6 Marines, disables 2 vehicles. Your team executes immediate action, and you dismount under intense enemy fire, machine gun and small arms, cross a canal, up a berm, take on 2 insurgents. You disregard for your own safety, under withering enemy fire, assaults and single-handedly takes on 3 more insurgents point blank range. And this continues, right? Mm-hmm. So just to set the context, you're kind of outnumbered 2.5 to 1.
Yeah.
They're in a fortified position. You're moving in, and the initial setup is 2 of your vehicles are down. So if you kind of just talk through, like, maybe did you know it was going to go sideways that day going into this?
Really good question. Really good question. I woke up feeling weird. And we all did in hindsight. Like it was just a weird day. We were going to do, so they were fucking heavily bombing, rocketing and mortaring basically all the bases in Iraq. So all the American places were getting fucking pounded by Katyusha rockets in like 120s or 121s or 119s, whatever their size was. And, my first day there on that deployment, the medical officer got smoked on the phone, the sat phone. He was talking to his wife, and he was supposed to leave the next day. So this deployment was night and day difference from the first one. So going back, a general mindset was kind of like, oh shit, here we go again. This is going to be a fuck. I probably won't make it home. You just, you deal with it. So I'm with my boys, and I love them to death. So that made it palatable. So that morning, we wake up. My captain was Captain Brent Morrell, and I say was, and we pull out, and someone over the radio, like right out of the base, says they witnessed like glint from like a scope or binocular. So we get out like fucking right out of the base and start like walking around, like looking for a potential observer or ambush or something. Ends up being nothing. And our job was we were going to conduct operations at its ammo supply point that Blackwater had taken over to provide security for, but it was a Iraqi massive fucking ammo supply, like fucking hundreds of thousands of rockets, and you fucking name it, dude, massive, like miles of like bunkers of fucking ammunition. So our job was to drive there, cross, always getting confused, Tigris, Euphrates, whatever comes out of Southwest Fallujah, go to the Rock ASB, and I think it was about a 45-minute drive to an hour drive. And then we were going to conduct operations out of there to hunt the mortarmen that were shooting out of the back of vehicles. They would drive up to a spot, get the azimuth to a base, and launch, and then drive off. And our anti-point of origin radar would fucking launch on that site. Seconds later, they'd be gone. Pretty fucking smart. So we start to cross the Euphrates, and this is when it turns into like a Vietnam movie, the bridge of the River Kwai. And I watched that as a kid, and it came into this moment. I remember watching mortars hit the water and walking towards us, and it was so cool. I mean, as a kid, like G.I. Joe, there's like water plumes 30 feet in the fucking air. I wasn't driving. I was sitting right behind the driver at this point on the left side in a armored Humvee this time with armored windows that were cracked because I'm an idiot. And fucking water fucking explosions, man. So we beat feet and we start taking fire from a machine gun position in a building. We'll just say northwest, off to the left, like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. My vehicle gets chosen to fucking go down this road by ourselves and go clear the position. So we drive down there and the fire stops and we can't find where this fire is coming from. We're one vehicle. They're all waiting, like a kilometer up or half kilometer up on the road. But we got our main focus is fucking get to the rock. Get back in line. We notice you've probably seen and heard about the taxis. Taxis are white and orange there. We see this taxi that's a white and orange taxi in this beat down car. It was like kind of a flat open field. You could see this road, the semi-star that we get ready to make a right on. And then a left. And it was hauling ass, dude, like down towards us and then flips a bitch and hauls ass back and it disappears. I don't know. To me, it was a scout. Or could have saw the Humvees and just heard the fire and then explosions and we're like, I want nothing to fucking do with this because there are civilians still there, lots. And we make that right turn. We don't chase the fucking rabbit. We make a left and there's a gas station on the left. And before they were told to dismount, I remember looking, I had my gun out the window at this point. It was an M16A4, I'll never forget it. And I wasn't a sniper yet, but I was still a pretty decent shot in my head. Maybe I wasn't, but I had a ACOG, and I was confident. We'll say that. And I remember looking out above my gun, and there was like 30 or 40, 30, say that, males, ma'ams, military age males, from 18 to like 60, backs against this fucking building. And not one looked at us. Not one. That was Q1. So, key 3, we got attacked already, fucking a mile before that. And we're still pushing, man. We got a mission. So, and we haven't taken like super overwhelming direct fire at this point. And Brent, our captain, makes us get out. We call him 5s and 25. So dismounts, you leave one guy on the gun, one guy driving, and the rest get out. And we look for IEDs, wires. IEDs weren't a thing in OIF1. This deployment, we started hearing the word IED for the first time, and it was all command det, nothing crazy yet. And so it was all wire detonated by hand or some kind of mechanism. And so we were like looking for fucking IEDs and just, at least we get out, fucking scrap on foot quickly and close with at this point, because the vibe was there. Spidey tenses across the board, all of us from the captain down. Like, something's not right. We've already been attacked. So he calls it off. Like we walk 100 meters. So I fucking get back in the vehicles. And I am the 4th in line out of 5 vehicles. And I want to believe Captain Morrell was in the 2nd, if not the 1st. I think he was in the 2nd vehicle. It's funny, I forget these little things. And we got some dispersion, man. We were pretty spread out. I think we were covering probably close to 750 meters from the first vehicle to the back end, which is smart, but dangerous at the same time. And I remember, I don't know if I saw dust being kicked up from the machine guns first, or I heard it over the radio. There was definitely a contact right over the radio, over the net that we were all listening to. But it was probably around the same fucking time. But I remember seeing dust kicking up from the right side. And I don't see guns or people. I just see dust and what ended up being fucking bullets bouncing off going this way. Because we're driving in and they're lighting up fucking first vehicles and every other vehicle they see. So it's like, this is like seconds. And I like see that. And I remember looking left at a palm tree to look at the wind to see if it was like windy. I thought it was like wind kicking up. It wasn't right, but it didn't register. It was guns. It was gunfire. And then it was that, and then simultaneously it was fucking the radio call, contact right. And then we had beat this fucking drill in via rocks and sticks. God bless fucking Dan Griego, my fucking platoon sergeant. We did a fucking L shape. So textbook basic fucking maneuver, and it fucking worked. So lead 3 vehicles are in the kill zone, the X. We're so far behind, it's seeing kind of everything from distance. It's still there. Contact or a fucking L-shaped right. There's a fucking road, side road, perpendicular. We're going that way. We make a fucking right, and we fall in, and that's when I dismount. He's got a fucking 50 cal Barrett on a scissor mount on the side of his fucking gun. He's a sniper. He's got video recording to this and audio. I heard it once. I'd like to get it again. I'm a corporal. You hear me yelling. I run up to his vehicle and I'm begging him to like let me go. We all like let us go clear these motherfuckers. Like, so there's like reeds, a small canal. There's canals everywhere. It's like a little creek, really. Some more reeds, grass, and then a berm. So it's like a berm this way as I'm looking. I can't see up and over. And then there's a long berm that goes down like a kilometer with random breaks into this field. So at Hardball Road to the left, direction of travel, we're now this small, tiny L. And myself and 2 or 3 others dismount and get on this fucking berm. And they got our backs to us. Like their position started ahead of us, maybe 100, 200 meters. And they're all, from that point on, every 25, 30 meters, there's like 4 or 5 dudes in a nest. Like a nest, but like a position. So all for a kilometer. So we're luckily at the very back end of it, man. Like, thank God. So I'm fucking drilling dudes, like with an M4 prone behind a berm, and it's shooting fish in a barrel. And so I didn't drill dudes point blank at this point. It's written up the way it is, but it didn't happen then. I was definitely shooting guys on the run, like Kentucky windage. You don't have time to adjust. Like I'm fucking hitting behind them as they're running right, trying to escape, and I'm hitting them on the fucking run, and they're randomly falling down or faking falling down and disappearing, which I would have done too. So we're just pegging fucking dudes. And at that point, he's like, get the vehicles, push up. You 2 vehicles, push up. Our vehicle. It was just our vehicle. That's right. It was us 5. And we push up 400 or 500 meters a ways, make a right through the berm, turn the Humvee around. Myself and Stafford get out. Q-Tip was also a generation kill. We're all still a generation kill dudes, minus a few new guys. And none of the guys have left.
Wow.
And so Stafford and I get out and start walking back towards the berm that we were originally shooting from. And I see basically the command vehicle, platoon sergeant, his vehicle off in the distance, and it's a ways. But at this point, I started to see we were ahead of a group of 2 or 3 positions, and there were bodies laying down, all in the prone wearing their man jammies. So there's like a big open field. And there's like, we get into, it's like flat dirt, and then it turns into fucking like a wheat field, something out of like Gladiator. Like, and I am fucking fearful of what's in this grass. It's like waist high. So it's waist high. So I'm trained this way. The berm that we drove through is on the right now, walking back towards the long berm, the perpendicular berm where the vehicle's at. And there's dead bodies on the berm, like slumped over fucking RPKs or PKMs. So we're walking towards them just to do dead checks and clear, like basic BDA on the move. And Stafford's kind of up on the berm and to my right and a little ahead of me. And there's a dude wearing brown man jammies. He's on his left-hand side. There's pineapple grenades everywhere. There's RPGs everywhere. There's a Dishka, which is a 50 cal on a tripod. I'll never forget it because I played baseball growing up. There's an orange Igloo water jug with the white top filled with fucking water. The motherfucker's been sitting there. But I found out later this is a logistics run for a lot of the Army and a lot of the Marine Corps, a lot of supply. So smart on their part. They were hoping to hit a POG non-combatant unit, and they fucking picked us wrong on their part. So each vehicle, we had 5 to like 7 AT4s. Like we were fucking loaded the fuck down. And all of us were magged out. Like we were ready. So fucking, I come up to this dude. He's bleeding out of his back. I don't know if he's dead, but I'm not really looking on him. I know Stafford's got him, but my boots are almost touching his back. I'm standing over this dude. He's like at my feet, but I'm still trained on this field covering security for us while he's kind of doing it. I just have to, I'm on the fucking field side, so it's my duty to cover this. And there's a big hole not a hole yet. There's a big building to the left, and I'm just, there's too many danger areas, man. I have so much to fucking cover. I'm like one dude, and I've seen 20, 30 dudes hauling ass that way. Like, and we're still taking fire this whole fucking time, man. Shit's zipping everywhere. And, this is all seconds. and it turns into minutes, which is an eternity in a fight. I hear he's got a fucking grenade. And I look down and this motherfucker, God rest his soul, like is eyeing me with a pineapple grenade to his chest. He fucking pulled the pin. And right when he said that, it's the first time I ever heard a Russian pineapple grenade go off. There was a fuse like that. And he fucking drops it. And we're like, holy fucking shit. So we turn around and start running. I start laughing. It's such a surreal moment. I'm running and I feel like I'm a little kid running with like the monster behind me in the basement. And I'm like giggling. We're both giggling because we're just like, I've watched every fucking movie with grenades and you fucking name it. I'm like, holy fuck, man. And I don't know, 10 feet, it goes off, blows this dude in half. His feet are blowing up the fucking berm. He's like rolled forward and he's alive, conscious, and crawling away from us with his guts hanging out. So he lived through the blast. I don't fucking understand it.
Did you feel the concussion?
No.
Wow.
No. I felt like a light thud, but nothing. We were so far away. He took the fucking blast. So no shrapnel, nothing, man. So we hauled ass, and we probably moved really fast, but I felt like I had 25-pound weights tied to my legs. It was like mud to me. It's like fight or flight, and you're just fighting this urgency. Is this real or not? So in my head, I felt like I wasn't moving at all. And he blows himself in half. Stafford fucking shoots this dude full mag, like out of anger, fucking 20 plus fucking rounds. 30 round mag. We loaded him to 28 to preserve the fucking spring. So 28 fucking rounds in this dude. And I don't know, he probably shot before that. I can't remember. So God knows, a lot of rounds. So I grabbed his fucking gun, like, yo, dude, he's dead. So continue push. Another group of dudes, guy in light colored man jammies. I wing this dude in the fucking shoulder to see if he's alive. He is. He rolls towards me. He rolls over and faces me. And in my ACOG, that's the first time I shot someone point blank, close, and he was alive looking at me, and there was a moment. So, and I was semi-religious at the time, but I remember like asking almost for forgiveness, like, because he had a gun, but he wasn't using it. He's like just looking at me and blinking. But I like ended up caving that dude's face in. I shot him 3 or 4 times. So it was just, that was personal because he was like looking at me through a scope, and it's not a deer and it's not a fucking target. This is real. So, and again, I've already been fighting now for a deployment or two, but that was close. It was in the daylight. It was crystal clear. So remember his face. I could probably draw it. So drill that dude. We beat feet. Going left. Cobra hovering over the fucking MSR launches a fucking like hovering, dude, like right there. Like I could see the fucking pilots launch a fucking tow into the house that I was just talking about, blows a garage door hole in it. And they're just like through the fucking cockpit. I'm just like, all right, dude. They fucking fly off. I end up tripping over the tow wire, land next to a dead Iraqi combatant wearing Army ACUs that he'd stolen off of another hit they had done with an Army M4 with a fucking aim point. We had ACOGs. You guys had aim points. Army is M4 203. But he had like a stovepipe catastrophic fucking malfunction. And my buddy, who's now Delta Force, I won't name his name, fucking smokes. He was by himself. Stafford and I were up. He went the other way. He was smoking dudes by himself. So I trip over this dude. He's got a fucking gunshot wound to his face. His teeth exposed. He's fucking dead. I take his M4 because I want to find out who owned the uniform and the gun. Like it instantly bothered me. That's an American's uniform.
Why? Yeah, why? Like you wanted to be able to, for closure for somebody?
Closure. Who the fuck was this kid or gal? I don't know.
Yeah.
So fast forward, we make it back. I'll go back. I turned the gun in, but I kept the aim point for myself because I am a Marine.
Yeah, as you do.
And a butt stock because it was better than mine. So gear adrift is a gift. Sorry, fallen soldier. I took your shit, but it's going to good use.
You know he would have wanted that though, man.
Yeah. So I turned the gun in and I never followed up with it, man. I always wondered who that was. So, I still think about that occasionally. So, we get back. No, we don't. I had no idea what happened. So, Captain Brent Morrell gets shot in the chest. Was a good leader. He jumped out. So they're the first two vehicles in this kill zone while our fight, it's two fights in one, as in most fights. There's multiple fucking facets to an engagement. Excuse me. Getting over COVID for the second time last week. So legit, my lungs are wrecked. But so Captain Britt Morrell was shot in the chest jumping over a burn. And the first vehicle takes a direct RPG shot. I did see this, forgot to mention this. So it was contact right, it was muzzle, dust, and then I looked way up there, and just because the way we kind of were offset even on the same road. So it was like vehicles were offset, so the gunners had more evidence to shoot. I remember looking over the driver's shoulder and seeing the first vehicle way up there. And I saw what I thought was an IED go off on the right flank of the vehicle, and it canted to the right, black and brown out the side. And then it was game on. So now fast forward, I'm on foot. I think we cleared these bodies. I'd moved back to this vehicle. Our platoon sergeant told us to put all the enemy dead bodies on top of the Humvees. I don't know why we did that. So it was the first time I touched a warm, dead human being. And we put these bodies, a lot of bodies, on the front of our Humvee. We took them back to base. Kind of cool. But third platoon shows up, a quick reaction force shows up. I have no idea what happened still. We make it all the way back to base, and then I find out what happened to the first vehicle and then Captain Brent Morrell. Actually, no. I found out what happened to the first vehicle, and then we had an all hands, and our company commander got us to the school circle, and stand, sit, kneel, and forgot his name, but he's like, hey, just want to let you guys know, Captain, Morrell was shot and he died in flight. I had no idea helicopters landed up there. So first vehicle gets hit with an RPG direct to Eddie Wright's hand. And if you guys want to watch this on April 7th, it's called The Ambush April 7th on the History Channel. The History Channel actually did a visual recreation of this very engagement. I actually denied to be a part of it, but they interviewed others from it. So I had a kind of sour taste in my mouth towards Hollywood because of the whole generation kill thing. So I'm like, fuck you guys. Like you can tell the story. So so Eddie was getting it on a parasaw on a scissor mount, half armored door, direct RPG shot to the saw. He lost his arms instantly. Everyone in the vehicle is fucked up. Eric Cucker almost lost his shoulder. He had a big shoulder to lose. Massive dude, like brick shit house. But he's good. Everyone in the vehicle gets purple heart. Everyone's fucked up. Everyone's got shrapnel. The gunner took another RPG, and the fins of the RPG cut his leg, and he fell backwards. These fuckers were dead on. So these guys weren't like pussy combatants. They were pretty decent with their RPGs. Yeah. So this is kind of probably some of their saltier dudes at this point. They've been fighting for a year now against a pretty advanced army. So they fucking wrecked that vehicle, man. So Eddie is life flighted out, CH-46 with Captain Morrell, and they were actually laying side by side. And Eddie kind of told me to seeing him in his last moments. So, the History Channel segment does it really good. It choked me up because it interviewed some of the guys, and just hearing their perspective, and now at an older age, like we're like the Vietnam vets now, like we're that age group, and we're not young 20s, and it seems like it was a different lifetime almost 20 years ago. Yeah, my deployments didn't end there. That was only my second one. So there's like 4 silver stars, like 2 or 3 Navy crosses. It's still like the most decorated engagement. Now I have like kind of a personal angst against awards. We had to do a write-up of what we did that day. I just wrote down my actions, like my job, and then like, yo, dude, you're getting a fucking Silver Star. And I tried to deny it. I'm like, and I was out of the Marine Corps 2 years of broken time. I got out before. Right after that deployment, a month later, I was out as a civilian, like a lip piercing, trying to fucking fit in. So lost. And listening to metal, living in Carlsbad, fucking surfing and shit. Life was great. Eating cheap peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And fucking, I was back in Kansas, like I told you, for those 3 months. And then there was a Marine I&I unit there. And they're like, hey, you're getting this award. We have to do a ceremony. Like, we have to present it to you. It's like literally signed by the president. I'm just like,
wow.
Someone talked to that captain face to face. I'm like, hey, dude, can you just give it to me and like say you did this? Like, I'll swear off on it. He's like, nah, it doesn't work like that. So, like, it was in Wichita, Kansas, dude, and they did like this huge ceremony. All these vets came, and I just the whole time felt like I didn't deserve it. So, and they let me pick who from my unit was going to present it to me, and it was the replacement company commander, Dean Schultz. Love the guy. Reminded me of the actor from the pianist who played the Jewish guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tall, skinny guy?
Yeah. He was my company commander, basically. Dean Schultz, who I got close to. He wasn't like a distant officer. He was one of us. Highly cerebral, nice guy. And I picked my platoon sergeant. And then they flew out from California because they were still active duty to present this to me. And, we already had some beers and in front of 400 fucking people, like the mayor and shit. Like, he was in front of me and I'm in like dress blues and like 120-degree heat. And I was just like, he knew my angst and like pain about it because I knew, like all the wrong that went down that day. And I was just like, dude, I literally just did my job. Like, I don't want this. And he whispered to me, he's like, this isn't for you. This is for your family. This is for your community. This is for people that believe in America and what you guys are doing in a good way. This isn't for you. He's like, take that weight off your shoulders and like wear this, like be like a leader, like use this for good. So not that it's like some crazy award, but I mean, it is what it is. And I hardly ever bring it up, but yeah. So Stafford that was with me, he got a Silver Star. The other guy that went to Delta Force got a Silver Star. We were just we had no idea what was going on up ahead of us, man. We had our own little fight. So we were just doing, every Marine's kind of trained to do his thing. It makes a team and a unit. Marines are kind of the definition of small unit tactics. It's beat into us at a young age from boot camp. So we just find a job, find work, and we did. So
Jason, sorry to interrupt, man. Was that the first time with Morel that you lost someone in the unit?
Yep. That's the first friendly that I knew and that I was a part of, like first KIA, which is lucky. We already been through
what you just described. It's crazy that it took that long, sadly.
Yeah. And even for that day, like, dude, we were it was like 70-23. We killed 33 enemy. Like, I know, because we fucking stuffed all the bodies around bees, which is kind of funny because we drove back through the kill zone and all of the Iraqis were like throwing up and crying and shit because they were probably related to them. And we drove back to our base. There were grunts on the outside of the base getting into a fight, which is, I didn't even think about it, kind of close to where we thought we saw someone. So all these grunts were outside their vehicles in the prone shooting this way. I'll never fucking forget it, dude. There's like this one grunt on the side. He turned around, he's in the prone. He sees all these enemy on our Humvees, and he just stood up and he was like, yeah. It's like, fuck yeah. And all these grunts were like, fuck yeah. So it was like, and I hate to sound barbaric, but dude, it's happened to every generation throughout time. Like, this was our war for whatever, another fucking political war. And, it is fucking barbaric, dude. You can't, you're fucking murdering each other. It's fucking sanctioned, authorized fucking violence. Like, and you have to tap into that primal shit to fucking survive. Like, and you're not fucking beating each other up. This isn't two dudes in mullets with F-250s fucking beefing over some chick at Denny's. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is fuck you, bro. like this is I'm gonna
Yeah.
fucking axe you. A sword and a fucking shield. Like, and one of you are walking away, or you're probably both dying. And we walked away, and they didn't. And like, it's just how it is. And you almost enjoy it at the time. Like and then you have to turn that shit off when you come home for good reason. So we fought again and again and again throughout that deployment. And then we came home. So,
Dude.
And that's only the beginning.
So just because of how long we've taken already, man, I might ask if I could do a round 2 with you some other time where we jump into MARSOC and GRS. But I want to talk about Savage Actual. But first, just a couple things that you had mentioned, man, about this, like maybe a good break point for your military career. You mentioned you get out after this deployment, but I know that you go on to MARSOC, right? So like, are you just in a really dark place coming out of 04?
I think I like to say I still had the Lance Corporal mentality. I was still it's funny. A lot of us are very anti-authority, but we joined the Marine Corps. So I was, as Dan Griego, my platoon sergeant, God bless him, love guy, he named Stafford and I fucking loose cannons. And that's always echoed in my mind ever since. Like, we just kind of pop off at the mouth. We were on the edge of fucking being controlled. We were definitely like little whiny bitchy dogs on leashes, dude, that were highly trained to fucking do bad things. And I was not a fucking great Marine in the sense of I gave a fuck about my haircut. I gave a fuck about my uniform. Like, I want to do work. And I honestly didn't even love like being a Marine that much. It was just like my job. I saw I'm in it. I fucking love the dudes I'm with, but like, it wasn't like my whole life. I didn't go home and like memorize ballistics and shit. So I was great at it, for my capabilities, but I stood next to some fucking greats. I was a very average dude, put in very unaverage situations, but I stood next to dudes that were highly intelligent. I like to think of myself pretty average, and I'm not trying to tear myself down, but honestly, I stood next to some really amazing dudes that I still call on. We haven't talked in years, and we're scheduling a reunion for Generation Kill this March.
Awesome.
May, excuse me. So to answer your question, I had to take a fucking break. And if I could have just taken 2 months off, 3 months off, like paid by the Marine Corps, fuck the hospital and the therapy talk and shit. Like, that stuff's good, but like really just like surfed and just grew my hair out a little bit and then come back to work. That probably would have been cool. But you got a job to do. You're a Marine. Do what you're told. So I needed a break, did some soul searching, and then I could probably end this segment. I was going to join the SEALs. I lived in San Diego, lived on a sailboat, lived in Point Loma on the water, and I saw Blackhawks flying over, and I had a package in for buds, and I was an inch away from trying out to be a SEAL. And then MARSOC stood up in October of 06, and MARSOC is built on the backs of old Raiders, and the old Raiders, 1940s era Raiders, and current day was built solely off of reconnaissance Marines. There's no other way about it. So 0321 fucking reconnaissance Marines, that's MARSOC. It was heavy force and battalion. And then all my boys that I still talk to were like, they had been grandfathered in. They're like, hey, if you come into this unit, the monitor is one of our dudes. Like, we know this dude, give him a call. You get in the Marine Corps, get that stamp that you're active again, you're going to get pulled in this unit. And officially we're a part of SOCOM for the first time, real funding, real schools taken care of ish. And I got, I was like, yeah, fuck that uniform anyway. I'll wear the blues again. So I ended up going back in, and then went right into fucking 1st Raider Battalion, 1st MSOB at the time, and then started a whole other fucking chapter.
Wow. Man. All right. Perfect stopping point for that. You mentioned that you went sour on Hollywood with Generation Kill. I didn't realize that, man. What happened there?
Let me think about it. Truly, like, humbly think about it. Fuck my acting. Like, I auditioned to play myself. Like, this story, I love Evan, right? We're friends. But Hollywood is about fucking making money, good content, a great story. They're artists, I get it, but it is about fucking making money. And they're making money off of our legit blood, sweat, and tears. here's this guy who's 25 auditioning to play himself, and it's a very average fucking part. I think I said shit about how's it feel. Like, I don't know. I didn't have very many parts, man, but like I definitely was in it, right? So they could just show up and fucking breathe. Like, I'm alive. Like, I can fucking talk. It's not like I'm giving some heartfelt fucking message as an actor in it. Like, I'm talking about like pizza and like shooting people, you know? It's like,
I know this. Yeah,
you know
you're
what
like, I got this.
yeah. So I'm me. Like, you're not good enough to be yourself. We're gonna get Kellen Lutz, who's an amazing fucking actor, you know, played in Twilight, and he's better you than you. And I really, to dumb it down that simply. So I had a little fucking angst, you know.
Yeah.
I was a little butthurt, like it's kind of fucked up, you know. And not that I really wanted the attention. It was more of like just another surreal thing in my life to go try to play yourself on an HBO movie. You know, it's like fucking just like,
And then be told no, you're not
and
going
then
to
and be told no.
this.
So really think about that. If everything we lived through, you're not good enough to play your own story that you fucking suffered through.
Oh man.
So there was some not. I think the angst meter, I'm like at a level 2 or 3. Like I'm not like, but like when I got wind of the History Channel, you know, another story of mine, of ours being told, I was like, I want fucking $20,000. I know you fucking got it, History Channel. Like, fucking pay us. Help catapult my life. I maybe invest it into the first Bitcoin or whatever the fuck. And it's not a lot of money. It was more like, kind of like, fuck the man. Like, yeah, I'll tell my fucking story, but pay us out. And God bless my boys, but like they didn't see eye to eye with me. So I was like, fucking, I'm out. But they did like, watch the visual representation of that ambush, dude. It's fucking nuts, man.
Well done.
They did a really, really good job. So
Right.
little anger tangent there, but that's,
yeah, man, that's legit. I mean, we were joking about it at first. Like, you try to audition for your own role, they say no, and we're laughing. But I could see that, especially if it's not like a leading role. Like, it's not like you need the star power for that. All right.
no, yeah.
God damn. Okay, so Savage Actual. There's one thing I wanted to ask you about that. On the site, it says it's a media company.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like it's gaming, it's interviews, it's like a media company. It sounds like there's intention behind that. Where did that come from?
So Savage Actual, Patrick called me. I knew him from I was instructor cadre with Go Ruck for a little while, and he was my first mentor. He had to like shadow me with students during these like threat sessions with people that pay to get their asses kicked or feel what it's like to be in training for special forces for a day. And you know, there's like Tough Mudders and shit, so it sucks. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I had to go through it. So as an instructor, you have to go through it again.
Makes sense.
It's not easy. So 40-pound pack for 26 hours, 26 miles. Ooh. So I'm sorry, 8 hours, 26 miles.
Okay, gotcha.
Anyways, met Patrick. He's like, yo, dude, I know you're still in LA or whatever. This video game company wants to like interview us and have us like react towards this video game, Call of Duty. We made like 6 videos for them. They got like millions and millions of views, which is crazy. I don't think they even thought we were going to be as big as a hit as we were. Neither did I. They didn't pay Patrick. They like fucked his pay up. They didn't fuck mine up. I'm actually taking care of for once. And so we're a little butthurt. He's like, dude, fuck these guys. Let's start our own shit. So for like 2 months, man, he's just like, dude, we can do this. I'm like, Generation Kill, these fucking guys. Like, dude, no, I'm fucking good, man. I can't play myself, so I'm probably gonna suck in front of TV. So and he talked me into it, man. And we stole kind of the heat and the momentum that we generated from the fans, you know, of us individually from Gameology, and started our own shit. And a lot of those fans, you know, you can subscribe to whatever you want, subscribe to 1,000 different channels at once. So it's not like you lose, they lose, right? So yeah, I just started slow rolling it, man. And then in a year, we're at like a year and a half, we had 130 subscribers, and we're just 2 kind of disgruntled vets drinking beer and coffee and talking a lot of shit, talking about video games and movies, and that's their thing. So then it's
why media company though? Why
so
that?
Yeah, thank you. We have big dreams, man.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we have a podcast side of it called War Stories and Beer. We're interviewing John Stryker Meyer soon. Kind of, we're all kind of doing a little bit similar flavor, but it's all individual, all these different podcasts like yourself. So we got our own like little idea where we want to take that. But like, I want to make a video game. I want to get into cartoons. So we want to get into like making gear and shit. So
Yeah.
media kind of centered around this guns and, this lifestyle. So the interviews to me are very important. I like to tell more about the man and the very like what you're doing. I like the making of, not like I'm hard as nails. I love David Goggins, but like, oh, fucking, you got to be a warrior. I'm so hard. And I wake up every day at fucking 5 a.m. and set my alarm and do a billion push-ups. Like, nah, like I want to know, how was your life up until that point you decided to join said military branch? Why that branch? What led you to that point? And why the SEALs? Why Recon? And then how was your experience? Like, yes, about the uniform, but the man, the individual specifically in that uniform. So yeah, man. And that means a lot to me. Like, I like hearing stories, and 100% what you said at the beginning of this, like, after all of this, I realize how important it is for me to be around like-minded guys. And we don't have to talk about guns, but just that mindset of knowing that you saw a very crazy side of life that a very small percentage of people ever see. And a lot of movies try to replicate that, and people wear tactical hats and patches and shit and try to act like that, dude. But like, it's the real shit. And it's a lot of weight that comes with that. So yeah, it's nice to be able to talk to other people and hear their story, which a lot of crazy stories out there are much harder than mine. So
how about a book? Is there a book in the wings for you, man? One day?
I've thought about it. I've started writing some things. I was super into poetry when I was younger.
You are a Renaissance man.
I know,
for real, dude.
I think so, but I'm not done yet. Kind of like what I was saying, having that like sense of like when I joined the Marine Corps, I knew I was going to go through something and I couldn't quite explain it. I know I'm not done seeing some more shit, I guess, but hopefully on the positive side.
Yeah.
Hopefully more about creation and long lasting good, other outside of taking, So I don't know what that looks like. So maybe later, maybe in my 80s, if my fingers still work, I can type. I don't know. So yeah, book potentially, but I need to add a lot more to it.
And then there's two questions I ask everybody, Jason, and I'll get you out on this, and hopefully, we can do a round two. But what I always like to ask people, was there anything that you carried with you into combat on your person, or that you wanted to have close by, that was given to you, sentimental value, good luck charm, or something to that effect?
It's funny you say that. No, not really. I know a lot of guys did. A lot of guys had like 550 cord of their kids around their neck. I had kids later, and in Afghanistan in '09, I brought obviously that stuff with me, but I don't want the enemy to get a hold of a picture of my kids in case I fell. No, but I did carry a moment with me during it all, and I like fall back on this moment. Again, I'm not like super religious, but I do believe there's something massive out there. I don't know what it is, but during Mattis's speech, on the way to see Mattis speak before we crossed the LMD, I remember this white dove like came hauling ass right above us, and like much like the AT-4, like flew right above me and like my little section of our 100 dudes marching to go see fucking Mattis speak, and it fucking bombed right by us, a white dove, and it did another flyby and then took off. And it was like, to me, I took it as like, it might have been a white fucking Iraqi pigeon, taking a shit, but I took it as, I had this glimmer of things were going to be okay. But I knew I was about to go through something crazy and that I might not come out of it, but things are going to be okay. And like, I kind of just like leaned on that. And I always felt like my family, and just like, like the energy of life and earth and the meaning of everything was just always kind of with me. And it wasn't time to end yet, but I was going to witness some shit. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think things are done, especially the current climate of the world. I mean, shit could break out at any point. So maybe I'm not done yet. So I hope it's fucking done, man. Like, please.
No, that's great. I've never heard somebody mention carrying a moment with them. Makes total sense. And the last thing that I ask everybody, and you've alluded to this throughout the discussion, and we haven't even touched on the MARSOC deployments, your time with GRS, which I'm sure was not a cakewalk. But looking back on these pretty barbaric and brutal times, would you go back and do that again?
Depends on the day, to be honest. I joined to do something extremely noble for good and bad. The older I've gotten, I did a Reuters interview about Afghanistan and the withdrawal of Afghanistan, and did some research on how many empires tried to take Afghanistan. We were the 14th empire that tried to take it. And it was a 20-year war. And we got Osama in 2008. So if there was another Hitler, true evil and genocide, much like ISIS, I would be all about it. But going into Iraq and even Afghanistan, for the most part, was another Vietnam to me now. But if I had to go through something against an adversary that was truly catastrophic for the entire safety of the world, some crazy dictator out of a movie, I would do it again in a heartbeat. And I would do it with exactly the guys I did with. No less, no more. I would just stay single and save all my money. And not buy a shitty car right off a base with 23% AVR. So I'll do some things differently. If I could go back with this mindset into a 23-year-old body, stay single, I'd be a much better Marine. And I would take a lot more pictures and be a better teammate and get to know my guys a lot more. Because that time, you think it's going to last forever, but it doesn't. So everyone that's listening, that's in the military, it's going to end 4 years, 2 years, 20 years, 30 years. It's going to end. Take some pictures and give it a fucking 100% while you're in, and make the best of it. So, because it's going to end and you're going to be just a forgotten, crabby dude in a herd and the civilian population, man. So, yeah,
so true.
I'd do it again, but only for. And that's the thing, man. You don't know when you join, you sign that dotted line, what you're actually signing up for. You don't know if there's going to go do a proxy war somewhere. But I mean, I think so. I was very proud.
Yeah.
So,
dude,
hard question to answer.
Thanks so much for the time, man, and just being so open about a lot of this. A lot of this is interview 86 for me. I've talked to a lot of guys, and I think the best ones are people like yourself who share like how difficult it could be. Not everybody's hard as nails, despite being in Recon and MARSOC and everywhere else. So thanks a lot, Jason. Hopefully we can get a round 2 in at some point. I appreciate your time, man.
Appreciate your time. We'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Thanks for listening to this combat story. We have a few comments from listeners. The first is on YouTube on the Jim Horn interview, and it's from RS. It says, Ryan, starting with your dad, I appreciate your interviews with Vietnam veterans. In some small way, it's about time we honor those that served there. Thank you. And I wanted to include this because when Jason and I wrapped up, we were talking about how we kind of feel like we're the Vietnam generation now. These older guys who had fought in the past and are looking back on these days and how we've matured a little bit and think about things differently. And some of the ways that we may have looked at Vietnam era vets when we were younger and wishing that we had looked at it differently. So I think this is spot on, really honoring what they had done and gone through in a much different time, in a much different environment where people didn't welcome them back the way that we were used to. Our second comment, also on YouTube, is on the Bob Pennington interview. It's from Russell Shonak. It says, being a former member of the U.S. Army Caisson platoon, which is awesome, I always fantasized over the 12 strong guys and the work that they did. Thank you for bringing this story to life. And as you all know from listening to the Bob Pennington interview, I was a huge fan of what they were doing when they jumped into Afghanistan, riding around on horseback, taking out the Taliban and taking the fight to Al-Qaeda. It was such a cool time to watch from afar. Wish I could have been there for it. But I completely agree with this comment. Thanks for leaving it, Russell, and thanks for your service, brother. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe.